Afternoon, everyone, and it's time for the conference championship games between the Falcons and the Packers and the Steelers and Patriots. So let's get straight over to Falcons Packers. So here's an example. It's Monday night in Philadelphia. The Packers are 4-6. They lost 4 straight games. It was to the Falcons. It was to the Colts. It was to the Titans, and now the Redskins. They've lost 4 in a row, and it does not look like they're going to make it to the playoffs at all. Their defense was terrible on stretch, and Aaron Rodgers, I'd say he's pretty good. He had to make a lot of plays. He kind of had to completely carry the team. Well, they beat the Eagles that night, and then they won all their last 6 games, including some nice wins against the Seahawks. They beat the Lions, and now, people thought Mike McCarthy might be fired. The Packers were just in terrible shape, and then here they are. They're 1-1 away from the Super Bowl, and Aaron Rodgers, he's been spectacular in the first 2 games. That throw, the Hail Mary to Randall Cobb, and then Joe Buck said, and Aaron Rodgers looks like he's going to throw it away. He didn't. Randall Cobb caught it, and then the throw to Jared Cook, that was incredible. And that was just a small fraction of all the great plays he made. He has 6 touchdowns, he's averaged 350 plus yards. He beat the Giants, who, their defense, I thought, could beat Aaron Rodgers, and they beat the Cowboys on the road, which, very similar ending for the Cowboys, a lot of heartbreaking endings in the divisional round for them. So, how good are the Packers going to be? Can they win a Super Bowl? Yes, we'll get to that in a few minutes. So, Aaron Rodgers, he's made a lot of great throws down the stretch. He's shown his ability to run once again. Aaron Rodgers played about as well as anyone down the stretch. Is he the greatest ever? No. Well, you can't say that yet. It's too early. But Aaron Rodgers has made some plays that not many people in NFL history could ever make. And look, if Aaron Rodgers wins, he has a chance to go to the Super Bowl. And if he goes to the Super Bowl and he wins a Super Bowl, he'll have 2 championships. He'll have more than Brett Favre. And when you win 2, people can't say, oh, you're a Brad Johnson. He won 1. You're a Trent Dilfer. So what, you won a Super Bowl? Big deal. The Packers can win the Super Bowl. And the support around Aaron Rodgers, let's talk about that. Davante Adams has been outstanding in those 2 games. So has Randall Cobb, who caught 3 touchdowns. And Jared Cook was spectacular in Dallas. And now you look at, Jordy Nelson has yet to even play. He played a few series, but that was it, and I think he's playing today. Of course, the Packers will not decide until later today. So, can Aaron Rodgers beat the Falcons' defense? Of course he can. He put up 32 points, but of course the team's defense was terrible at the time, so he couldn't win. Rodgers can't do it by himself. So, let's go on to the other side. So, Matt Ryan, down the stretch, he was just spectacular. He has all sorts of mind plays. Like, for an example, let's go against the Seahawks. So they're playing against a really good defense. Yes, Earl Thomas isn't there. They have a 99-yard drive. A 99-yard drive. That's incredible. They basically went the whole length of the field in a span of, took them less than 5 minutes to do it, against probably the best defense in the NFL in the past 5 years. Of course, there's no Earl Thomases. Steven Terrell, he looked awful out there. He just couldn't make any plays. Julio Jones, he wasn't spectacular. He didn't have an all-time great game. He had a steady game. The first drive of the game, he caught some balls. And like I said, with the Seahawks covering him, Taylor Gabriel and Devontae Freeman were able to make huge plays out of the backfield. Like I said, I want to talk about Taylor Gabriel for a minute. All year long, they can run a reverse to him. He can go 20, 30 yards. They can throw a screen to him. He can go 20, 30 yards. They can give him the deep ball. Again, he's a small guy, but, could he be this generation Steve Smith? Maybe. He has great speed. Just a great player, Very interesting backstory. He's actually cut by the Browns, and you can read about him on Bleacher Report. Just type in Taylor Gabriel Bleacher Report story. It's a great story, and then Devontae Freeman, he's been outstanding. They can give him the ball. He can catch out of the backfield. Same thing with Tavon Coleman. A few minutes earlier this morning, I heard a few pieces of the Mike Francesca show, and he said they got more explosive. Well, I agree with that. They had guys like Michael Turner and Steven Jackson, power guys. What Freeman and Coleman bring is explosiveness. They can get out of the backfield. They have speed. They can catch passes. Really, the Falcons right now need speed to win, and that's worked for them. And Matt Ryan's done a great job of turning the team around. It's been all Matt Ryan. And then you just look at what they can do offensively. They scored 500 points this year. That puts them right up there with the greatest show on turf, the Patriots, the 13 Broncos. I mean, that offense was just historically great, definitely top 10 all time. And like I said, the weapons they have on offense, they can definitely beat the Packers. The question is, what does Aaron Rodgers do? So let's move on to defense. So neither team has a great defense. I mean, the Packers, they were limited on secondary all year long. Quentin Rollins might play today. I think he is. The question is, does Morgan Burnett play? I think he's playing. But they're limited. One thing I do like about them is they have the ability to pass rush. They're one of the better pass rushing teams in the National Football League. They can make, they have Clay Matthews, they have Nick Perry, they have Julius Pepper. They're just one of the better teams in the league at pass rushing. And they can put pressure on them as they each all have a sack this playoff. So who knows? Maybe they have 5 sacks. And one player I like on their defense is Micah Hyde. He can make a lot of plays. He had a sack and interception against the Cowboys. Can be in all sorts of coverages. He's been really the bright side of their secondary. He's really emerged in his 3rd year. And the Falcons, they have some weapons. Vic Beasley, he has 15.5 sacks. I think he sacked Rodgers all the way back in week 8. He definitely has the ability to put pressure on. Vic Beasley, I think, is the best pass rusher in the NFL this year. And then you have Ken O'Neal and Deion Jones. They're okay. They're rookies. But they've made a lot of plays this year. They're part of their defense. And then, so the bottom line is the Falcons won. It was a 1-point game, 33-32, all the way back in week 8. Look. This game is going to be a shootout. When you talk about Matt Ryan versus Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers is going to run around. He's going to make some great plays today. He's going to have a great game. So is Ryan. Sure, these teams, secondary is not these teams' strengths. Well, I think the Packers might have a little bit of a better secondary. Well, on the safety side, cornerback side, I think it's the Falcons. But again, both of their defensive look really bad at times this year. This game's going to be a shootout. Ryan's going to be great. So is Rodgers. I think Julio Jones is going to have a great game. I think Gabriel's going to make some plays. I really think, and by the way, the Falcons have a great advantage on the ground. Really, Christian Michael has not been that good for the Packers this playoffs. Neither is Ty Montgomery. The Falcons are going to run on them, and they're going to have the advantage. So it was a better team overall on offense. I give the running to the Falcons, but it's Aaron Rodgers. Who's the MVP? I think it's going to come down to one of those 2 games. I believe in voting. The MVP is already decided. I don't have a vote. If I did, I would just give it to Aaron Rodgers for what he's done carrying the Packers this year. So, who wins? You know what? Aaron Rodgers is going to have the game of his life. He's going to win in the Dome. It's going to be really close. 30-plus points for each team. It's going to be a field goal winning. It's going to come down to a field goal. 7 points or less. Rodgers goes back to the Super Bowl. There you have it. Packers in the Super Bowl for the first time in 6 years. Can Aaron Rodgers win his 2nd career Super Bowl and 5th overall for the Packers? Okay, now it's time for Steelers-Patriots. So, look. The Patriots, they won 8 in a row after that loss to Seattle in Week 10. They've really gone hot down the stretch, and they're 14-2. Getting another great season by Belichick and Brady. And the Steelers won 9 in a row. Look, they're 4-5. After that loss to the Cowboys, they've gone hot, really hot down the stretch. They had a huge win against the Ravens in Week 16 that ultimately put them in. And they've beaten the Dolphins and the Chiefs. So, and another interesting storyline. So, Brady and Roethlisberger, look, they have 6 Super Bowls combined. And one of them has a chance to go back to the Super Bowl. Can Brady is 5th, or is Roethlisberger is 3rd, which Roethlisberger is 3. He'll be among the elite. He'll do what only Terry Bradshaw did, and the Steelers would have 7 Super Bowls. Well, the Cowboys and 49ers would have 5. and the Giants, Packers, and Patriots will all have a three-way tie for 4. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. So, who I want to see today is Le'Veon Bell. He's rushed for 337 yards. This playoffs, he's just been so patient. Let's say finds he's running. Oh, there's a hole. Okay. Oh, there's another hole. There's a hole, and it's like he keeps going until someone tackles him. He's patient. He's not old school where he just runs, sees what happens. He's gonna find where to go, and when he finds that area, he's gonna go there. And when he goes there, he's gonna gain yards. And when he gains yards, he's gonna get a first down. And when he gains yards, when he gets first downs, they can turn a touchdown. So Le'Veon Bell, he could get the ball 30 times today. And he could up his total to 500 yards in the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised if he did that. He's going to get the ball today. Can the Patriots stop him? I don't know. The Chiefs couldn't. The Dolphins couldn't. Really, no one could. And that's not it. There's Antonio Brown. We saw what he did in Miami. He broke free. The Dolphins couldn't tackle him. And now, you saw what he did in Kansas City. He made some big plays. He's had 4 plays of 20-plus yards. Look, you just throw a screen pass to Antonio Brown, he could be gone. They have weapons. They might have the best receiver in the NFL. They may have the best running back. And at times, can you say Roethlisberger's the best quarterback? No, he's not the best quarterback. But at times, he's right up there. He's a Pro Bowl quarterback. They have a great team. Of course, Roethlisberger, he has 421 yards. Brown has 232. Brown, if he didn't make those big plays, like breaking free, certainly, if he didn't make those big plays, like, what he caught, the final pass to get a first down against the Chiefs, if he didn't make those plays, they might not have won. They could have easily lost to the Chiefs. And Roethlisberger, he needs to be better. He's throwing 3 interceptions, just 2 touchdowns, and 420 yards. Over the course of a whole season, that's about 3,000 yards, a little over, and just 20 touchdowns. I mean, Roethlisberger, he needs to have a huge game. You're going up against Tom Brady, the best quarterback of his generation, maybe the best quarterback ever. You have got to throw for more than 200 yards a game. You've got to up that. You may need to throw for 300, maybe even 400. And you got to give Le'Veon Bell the ball. Basically what I'm saying is, your offense needs to be the best that has all year. Everyone needs to play well. Since when you're going up against Tom Brady, you have got to match him. And if the Steelers want to have any shot of winning this game, they have to score points. They can't score 18 points like they did against the Chiefs and kick all field goals. They're not the Broncos defense that beat Brady last year. They're going to have to score 30 plus. Roethlisberger needs to step it up and show that he can win maybe a 3rd Super Bowl. That's how great Ben Roethlisberger is. And if their offense does not play at that level, they're not going to win. And it doesn't help. The Patriots allowed the least amount of points in the league, 15.6. So when you look at that, you're in for a challenge. And the Patriots do have a good defense. Now let's look at Tom Brady. He was not his best against the Texans at all. No. He completed less than 50% of his passes. He threw 2 interceptions. I mean, the Texans, they put great pressure on him. Clowney was great. Marcellus was great once again. They did an outstanding job. And, throughout the first 3 quarters of the game, I thought the Texans had a chance to win. And if Brock Osweiler didn't throw 3 interceptions like he does all year long, if he wasn't awful, they might have had a shot to win. That was a defensive battle. And yeah, they did score 36-38 points. But still, when Brady needed it, he found Chris Hogan for a long game. And then he had other 20-plus yard games. Chris Hogan, he averaged 18 yards a catch this year. He's a threat to break loose. Julian Edelman, he was outstanding. He had a long 48-yard reception. So when the Patriots needed a big play, they got it. They did just that. Here's the thing. Their receiving core is limited. Malcolm Mitchell's limited. By the way, Rob Gronkowski, he's done for the year. He's not playing. He hasn't played in 6 weeks. Martellus Bennett, who, last week he went down. We thought he really messed up his knee. He didn't. We're glad he's okay. And then you just look at, Mitchell's limited. Malcolm Mitchell's limited. Everyone on the defense, on the receiving core is limited. So that's going to be a problem. They do have LeGarrette Blount. They do have James White, who's been a really good pass catching back this year. Dion Lewis, I know what he did in the divisional game. He had a kick return, a reception, a rush. But they do not have a lockdown running back like Le'Veon Bell who they can give the ball to 30 times a game. They just don't have that. So the receivers are limited. That could be a problem. So now you look at the defenses. Both teams have had good defense at times this year. That's why they have. They've looked really good at times. Other times they've shown struggles. So when you look at the Steelers' defense, you look at James Harrison. He's 38 years old. He's been outstanding this playoffs. He's brought down 16 people. He's done a great job of stopping the run. Has 2.5 sacks. Harrison at 38, believe it or not, he actually retired right after a poor season in Cincinnati 3 years ago. And his spent the past 2.5 years on the Steelers. Look, he just keeps doing it. And then you look at Lawrence Timmons, he had 2 sacks in the wild card game. He's been great. He's brought down a lot of people. Shazier, I think he can make a lot of huge plays. Has 2 interceptions, so I'd watch out for that. Oh yeah, also Bud Dupree was outstanding down the stretch in December. I think he can be a great future pass rusher for them. And then you just look at other guys. Artie Burns, Sean Davis. They've made some plays down the stretch this year. They've had quite good rookie years. This defense. Here's the thing about their defense. From the time they won their first Super Bowl about 11 years ago to when they lost to the Packers for a stretch of 5-6 years, they had outstanding defenses. Those guys got old. They had to get rid of them. They had to cut some guys. And they had to rebuild their defense, and I think they've done that. It's not a full circle, but I think in the next few years, they can get it back to elite defense, just, the Pittsburgh culture. But it's not good enough to stop Tom Brady. And the Patriots defense, they were outstanding against the Texans. They had 3 interceptions and 3 sacks. One guy I like to see is, as Phil Simms commented, Logan Ryan, the ball's going to be thrown at him a lot. But he makes a lot of plays. He brings people down. He had a sack and interception. I wouldn't be surprised if he did that again. And, I want to see Malcolm Butler against Antonio Brown. So, how good is Malcolm Butler? He's had a good year. He's made a couple of Pro Bowls. He's not this unknown guy. It'd be interesting to see what he does when he matches up against Brown. Can he stop Brown? I don't know. He has a shot. It's going to be a huge challenge, of course. And then you have Dante Hightower. He can make plays. Devin McCourty had an interception. He's going to be back there in the secondary. I would watch out for him to make plays. So there you go. Both teams have good, I'd say good, at times very good, but not great defenses. And again, defense is not going to be a factor in this game. Now, this game is not going to be what the game in Atlanta is going to be today, but there's going to be a lot of points. I think at times we'll see there could be moments of defensive battle. Maybe Harrison has a sack or 2. Maybe he gets going. Maybe Shazier starts making plays. Maybe Malcolm Butler locks down Antonio Brown for a whole quarter. Doesn't let him do anything. Maybe, I don't know, maybe the Malcolm Brown, Jabal Sheard, maybe Ninkovich comes in, gets a sack. You never know. There could be moments of defense, and I think there will be. But also, there will be offense. So here's the bottom line, the keys to the game. The bottom line. Le'Veon Bell is going to get the ball a lot. And he's going to, I think he's going to get 25, 30 carries. The question is, can he average 5-6 yards a carry? Can he get up of 150 plus and have 500 total yards in 3 games? And by the way, Le'Veon Bell has not done anything out of the backfield. That's what he's been great at. I think Le'Veon Bell he may have to touch the ball 30, 40 times today in total. He's going to get a lot of carries. Can he have 200 yards from scrimmage? 300 even. Le'Veon Bell has to be great. He's got to be vintage Bell. Antonio Brown has got to be great. The Steelers' offense has got to be great. So, Both teams need to be at their highest levels of offense. Since the Steelers, their offense has to be great, so is the Patriots. Each team's offense needs to be at their highest level, needs to be at their peak, and cannot back down on offense. So that means, could this game be in the 20s? Certainly. In the 30s? Yes. So the bottom line, what happens? Who wins? Brady and Belichick win. You can't beat them. It's going to be close. The Steelers will be close. And I think the Steelers do have a chance to win. I think they can win. But it's going to come down to the Patriots. Brady and Belichick advance to their 7th Super Bowl. So there you have it. The Super Bowl is going to be Patriots and Packers. So let's talk about some of the quarterbacks. So Brady has 4 Super Bowls. Roethlisberger has 2. Rodgers has 1. Matt Ryan doesn't have any. And here's the franchises. Steelers 6, more than anyone ever. Patriots 4, Packers 4, Falcons 0. So the Patriots can have 5 Super Bowls, which that would make them elite right up there with the Cowboys and the Niners. They'd be one of the elite teams in NFL history if they can win the Super Bowl, which I predicted them to win the Super Bowl at the start of the playoffs. With them at the NFL's all-time elite, there's just nothing you can't do. And then you look at the Packers, Bart Starr won the first 2 Super Bowls. Brett Favre won them 1. Aaron Rodgers won them 1 6 years ago. If they win one, they're going to have 5 Super Bowls. They're going to be right up there with the elites as well. And then you look at the Steelers. If they win, they'll have 7. They'll have 2 more than any other team. And, the NFL, it's impossible to have dynasties. You look at each decade. You look at the team of the 70s was the Steelers. The team of the 80s was the Niners. The 90s was the Cowboys. And the team of the 2000s was the Patriots. The team of the 2010s, you could say the Packers. Maybe the Seahawks. There is none. So for the last 4 years of this decade, I think whoever wins multiple Super Bowls this decade will be the team of the decade. So it's going to be interesting to see who that team's going to be. So you have 3 all-time elite, borderline elite franchises, and you have the Falcons, who went to a Super Bowl almost 20 years ago. But then outside of the Ryan era, they just haven't been able, they've been terrible. 14-2 going to the Super Bowl. Well, guess what? Losing season. And before Ryan got there, they never made the playoffs back-to-back years. Much less had a back-to-back winning season. So for 40 years, you had a winning season. Guess what? Next year you won't. So what Matt Ryan did, this is the best era in Falcons history. Matt Ryan has a chance to lead them to a Super Bowl. And if they win a Super Bowl, he's going to be a hero in Atlanta. He really is. A year ago, he was getting booed after a loss to the Saints. He would become a Falcons legend. He'd be Mr. Falcon. The city of Atlanta's not at a championship in 20 years. It doesn't look like, the Braves. It's going to be a few more years before they can get one. Maybe 5. Then you look at the Hawks. I just have no idea where they're going. So this would be great. The time is now for the city of Atlanta to win a sports championship. The city of Pittsburgh, let's talk about them. Well, the Steelers have won 2 in the past 10 years. The Penguins have won 2. Maybe the Pirates make a run at it this year. You never know. They've had some great years. So the city of Pittsburgh's had plenty. They might get 5 championships, say, in 12 years, which is pretty remarkable. The city of Boston, don't get me started. The Celtics won 1. Bruins have 1, the Red Sox have won 3, the Patriots won 4, maybe 5. They have more championships than anyone in the past, say, since the turn of the century. Boston fans, they've had enough already, but before the turn of the century, they had some suffering. So the city of Boston is more than any city ever. And then, now you look at the city of Wisconsin. Well, Green Bay, they're kind of their own little town. They have the Packers. That's really it. There's really no other sports teams in Wisconsin. Yes, there's the Bucks. Sure, there's the Brewers. They haven't won one. The Packers are kind of at their own. So, you look at legacies. If Brady and Belichick win 5, if Brady wins the Super Bowl, the debate is over. He's the greatest quarterback of all time. No more debate. Sorry, it's not Montana. Sorry, it's not Manning. Sorry, it's Brady. Right now, I'm 75% sure it's Brady. If he wins the Super Bowl, there will not be a debate again for another long time, and maybe another 20 years before we can reopen this debate. Aaron Rodgers, if he wins the Super Bowl, that will help his legacy as well. And he had more Super Bowls than Favre. He did more what Favre did. So we can say he's better than Favre. If Ryan wins a Super Bowl, is he a Hall of Famer? Yes. If he has one, that'll just be great for him. Great for him, man. And if Roethlisberger wins 3, I think 2 is very nice, but 3 makes it that much better. He'd become even more of a legend in Pittsburgh than he already is. He'd be Mr. Steeler. So, a lot of legacies to be decided this weekend. So, Super Bowl is going to be in Houston. The 2 teams that I predicted, of course I could be wrong. I said Patriots-Packers. That's who it looks to be. So, we're going to watch the games. We're going to see what's happened. It's going to be fun. I'm not going to be rooting for anyone. I'm just going to sit back, be locked in, watch, and see what happens. Like I said, you have all these teams that are all the greatest team ever. 2 teams that are all-time elites that will be right up there if they can get their 5th. And then you have the Falcons, who were the laughingstock of the NFL for 40 years. This is their greatest era in their history. And now, if they win, this will be amazing. So, 4 teams left. 2, 1. So we'll see what happens. Thank you for listening. And we should be back on air to kind of talk about the Super Bowl. And we'll see you next time.